had some good rest, had a great time with family or friends or whoever spent Christmas with. And the start of the year, I hope has been really kind to you. I consider it a real privilege of mine to be able to speak on the first Sunday that we have together, this first gathering that we have at the start of a new year, in the hope that I might be able to offer something of an encouragement to us, an encouragement, a message for us to take hold of and to hold on to for everything that 2025 is going to bring our way. The passage that we had so brilliantly read for us is given a little subheading in the Bible, in the NIV translation, and maybe in other translations as well. And the subheading is, do not worry. Do not worry. It's the main message of this part of the passage. Don't worry about tomorrow. And my encouragement for us this morning is, don't worry about this year. Don't worry about tomorrow. And don't worry about 2025. When I was reflecting about how I started last year, actually last year started with lots of uncertainty for me. There was a lot going on. There was a number of sort of unresolved things that were hanging in the balance, hanging over from the year before. And I was feeling quite anxious about how the year was going to go with all of that there was going on. But I'm really grateful actually that this year I'm entering it entirely differently, with a little bit of hope, actually, a lot of hope. Last year wasn't bad, actually. It took a few months to get going, but it was good, and friendships were deepened, new friendships were made, and the church grew. People were coming to faith on Alpha. My boys, they're growing up, and they're growing up fast, but they're growing up well. And, I've got lots of running PBs were achieved. And a lot of Lego was built over the years. So it was a good year. And some of you, I imagine, had even better years. You had even better years. Maybe the business is soaring. Maybe work's going really well. Maybe it's made all the difference, that new job you did, or that decision you made at the start of year really, really played out and paid off. Maybe family life is on a high. You're feeling in a really good place in your faith and with your family. Maybe this last year was really good for you. But of course, some of us, though, would have had the toughest and the hardest years of your life. And I don't need to reel off examples for you of what that might have looked like because you lived it. And so in this room will be a completely mixed bag of how last year was and what last year held for you. And the thing is, whether we had a good year or a bad year last year, and however we are entering into this new year, none of us were given the option or the decision to decide what last year was going to be like. None of us had the choice to say, I want it to be like this, and got what we wished for. And again, we don't get that option at the start of this year either. We don't get to choose what this year is going to be like and what it's going to hold for us, which can feel a little unnerving. It might fill some of us with dread and worry and with all that uncertainty. But Jesus says, don't worry about tomorrow. Jesus says, do not worry. Now, I've learnt in the small 11 years of marriage that responding to someone's worry with, just don't worry about it, isn't actually that helpful. And I want to be really helpful this morning. So the subtitle of Do Not Worry, that's the subtitle, that's the context, that's the theme of the passage. But the advice and the how of that passage, the how of the teaching, comes towards the end. It's about setting our priorities right. It's about seeking first his kingdom and his righteousness. Because based on this passage, there seems to be this connection between our ability and capacity to navigate the uncertainties of life linked to the things that we prioritize in life.
what holds the most value in your life, what's the most important thing in your life is entirely linked to your capacity and your ability to navigate the uncertainties of life. What a lot of worry comes down to is the fear of not having the ability or not having the capacity to deal with what comes our way. And let me spoil the year for you. Things are going to come your way. Well, what is coming our way? What are the things that our life is going to be built up in this year? And I'm hoping that this illustration is going to help. So Gareth, if you wouldn't mind helping me. My New Year's resolution is to have more prop-based sermon illustrations. So you've got plenty more of this coming your way, don't worry. But this is your life here. This is your life. This is 2025. And what we'll do, we'll park the things that you can't control. There's a whole bunch of stuff that you can't control. We'll get to that in a minute. But there are things that we can control, like maybe like our daily routines. So what do? What do we fill our lives with? Well, we fill our lives with, I've got to get the kids to school. So I've got to then figure out what time we need to leave to get there early or just on time. Avoid the walk of shame to the office door, yes. I've got to walk to school, and actually school, do the clothes still fit? No, they don't. Okay, so I need to organise getting all the clothes sorted, the school uniform. I've got to do all of that. Okay, are they still on free school meals? Oh no, they've gone up a year. So now I need to do some packed lunch. Okay, that's what I've got to do. Okay, brilliant. And we start to just bring this in, and then, well, I've got to stay on top of some of the payments, the school trips, and actually some of the bills. I've got to stay on top of the internet, and my Amazon Prime subscription, and all the bills that are going to come in. I've got to stay on top of all of that. I've got the kids to school, but I need to get myself to work. So I've got to get myself to work. And, okay, the car's MOT's due, so that's going to come round. The car needs servicing. And I've got to sort all of that out. And weather dependent, I might like to cycle a bit more or walk a bit more, but I've got to then plan ahead and think ahead and look into that. So here are all the things just coming up in my life here. I mean, there's birthday parties coming up, so I've got to get all the presents sorted. I've got to make sure, there's 2 parties at the same time, and I've got 2 kids, and now I need to just think logistically where the kids are going for that. I need to sort all of that. The dinner needs cooking, the never-ending washing up, and the clothes washing, that needs to be sorted as well. The tumble dryer's gone bust, so I need to fix that, and all of this stuff is just piling up. Does anyone resonate with this stuff going on in your life? As I said, the dinner needs cooking. If dinner needs cooking, I need to buy food. I need to bring food in. I need to do the online shop. I've got to get the online shop sorted. And then if I can't get the online shop sorted, I need to figure out time to get to the shop and sort this all out. And it's all happening. And all the mums in the room are nodding. And all the dads are looking really confused. Who thinks about this stuff? Yeah, that's telling, isn't it? And then, of course, I've got all those messages that I need to reply to. I've got all those emails, and some of these messages in my WhatsApp are about 3 weeks old. And I've got to respond, and okay, that person wants to hang out, that person wants to catch up, and when's the next available time? Okay, in 3 weeks' time, I might be able to see them and hang out with them. And there we have it. Your life, all the things that are happening and everything else that you can think of, it just begins to pile up and it begins to get a bit heavy. And then, of course, let's just throw in all the things that we can't control. And there it is, like everything that's happening in your life. Stuff keeps coming, the details of life, all the unique intricacies of your life built up here, happening to you, constantly happening to you. And it feels like a lot, and it does. It's heavy. And that's before we begin to ask some of the questions that we ask at the start of this year, where we say, okay, what do I want to achieve this year? What's my resolution for this year? What are my goals and my aims for this year? Because I'd really like to grow in some way. I'd like to grow. Maybe I'm going to take up a new hobby, or I want to get better at something, or I want to improve on something at work. I want to improve something in my personal life. And growing sounds good, but I mean, gosh, hopefully I can find the time to do that sort of stuff, because do you know what? I'd also really like to get a bit more sleep this year. And if I'm going to do these hobbies, I don't know when I'm going to do them, if I'm going to get to bed at a sensible time, and because sleep's a big one too. And so I guess I've put that in there as well. It's how a lot of us approach life. It's how a lot of us approach life. And actually, do you know what? I'd really love to not have money be such a worry this year. And money is a huge thing. Money can cause great stress, great worry and anxiety. Of course, like if I can get my finances sorted this year, if I can cut back on a few things. We cut back on Netflix, and which is what, $8.99 or something, and then what I do is I park on the road and I do the start on Ringo, and then I forget to stop it, and then 24 hours later it says you've now been charged the full amount, and I'm like, I could have watched Netflix this year. And so if I could just stay on top of my money and be sensible with my money, and maybe I'll have enough then to afford the holiday and get that time off. And of course, everything with money everything's really expensive, and like food, like the food bill. And if I can be sensible with food this year, and actually if it can fit in with my health goals as well, if they could go together, then that would be great as well. And I can maybe just try and fit this into my life, because I've got a lot going on, all the things that I want to achieve this year. And then, I left this one blank because you can fill it in. What is that thing? And it's getting really tight here, but that's all the important stuff, right? That's all the things. These are the non-negotiables, and it is really heavy now. These are the non-negotiables of life. These are things that just happen to you, but it doesn't all quite fit. And I'm not sure, looking at that, I have the capacity and the ability to hold all this stuff this year. I'm not sure I can quite manage this, and that's a shame, because actually thinking about it, I'd really like to work on my relationship with Jesus. I'd really like to focus on my relationship with Jesus and growing as a disciple and going deeper in my faith. I'd really like all this stuff. I want to be able to pray more. I want to read my Bible more. I want to spend more time sitting in God's presence and spending time with Him. And okay. Maybe if I just got up a little bit earlier, and then that might make it work. Or maybe if I just delayed the morning routine a little bit, or maybe if I squeezed it in lunch, maybe that fixes it. And it's made it worse, actually. Maybe that. And I'm with you, right? I'm with you. It's a lot. Life is going to happen to us. But it's not your ability. When you look at this, you think, do I have the capability this year to handle all the stuff that's going to come my way? No, you don't. And you know what? It's not based on your ability or your capacity anyway. Your ability and your capacity for the things this year aren't based on your skill or your drive or your resolve or your will. No, it's based on your priorities. Your priority determines your capacity. Jesus said, don't worry about this stuff. Don't worry about this stuff. But seek first my kingdom. Seek first the things of God. Make Jesus the priority for life. So here's how you could approach the year. Make Jesus the priority in your life. And say, Jesus, you are the most important thing in my life. You are the biggest, and you are the biggest stone that I'm going to place into my life. You're the biggest stone I'm going to figure out for this year. This is your big stone for 2025. You know, as a team, we have what we call, we have 2 meetings each year spread across the year. It's called our Big Stones meeting. And we meet and we lay out a calendar on the floor, and we look at all the dates from 6 to 8 months or so for the church calendar. and we say, what are the big stones? What are the big events? Because we need to get them in first before we think about anything else. Because what you prioritize determines your capacity. Put the big stone in first. Put Jesus first. Jesus says, put me first. Put your relationship with me first. Don't try and sideline me or try and squeeze me in, but put me in first. Would I be the first thing that you think about, the first thing that you put forth in your life? And then he says, all these things will be given to you as well. And so rather than trying to squeeze in Jesus by putting him first, rather than trying to do it all yourself this year, rather than trying to just run yourself into the ground, rather than maybe burning yourself out or overworking, rather than doing all of those things in your own strength, give it to Jesus. Give him your all. Put him first in your life. Devote everything you have to him, spending time with him at the top of your priority list. And then watch how he then sorts out all the rest. Watch how he sorts out the rest. That's round of applause worthy. Because I did this about 10 times last night. And if it doesn't fit, I mean, that's the friend you shouldn't be hanging out with or something. Time spent with Jesus, putting Jesus first, determines your capacity for the year. That all fits. And it's because Jesus is the only person who can give you true strength for your life. Jesus is the only person who gives us that deeper peace. Jesus is the only person who can match and meet that longing in our soul. It's Jesus, only Jesus, who gives us purpose and meaning for our lives. It's Jesus who gives us a greater perspective for our lives when we put him first. And you know what? Even if we don't get any of those things, it's still worth it just to sit in God's presence, just to sit at the feet of Jesus and put him first in our lives. There's a new favorite American pastor of mine, Noah Heron. He said this. He says, goals are good. Set them. Goals are good. Set them. But God is great. So sit with him. It's great if you're going to set some goals. But God is great. God gives you the capacity, the ability, and the strength that you're going to need if you put him first. Make that your goal. Make Jesus your priority. Everything else in your life flows from that. And it flows with even greater depth and meaning. This is my priority for the year. This is my priority for the year. A relentless pursuit of the person of Jesus. That's my priority for the year. My priority is not my running goals and my running achievements and my personal bests. It's not my health or my weight loss goals. You know, my priority for the year is not even the growth of this church. It's not even the things that we do and the programs that we do and the things we fill our calendar up as a church. They're not my priority even. My priority isn't even the people of this church. I'm sorry. My priority this year is a relentless pursuit of the person of Jesus. Because I believe it's the best thing I could ever do for my life. It's the best thing I could ever do for every single area of my life. Because I believe that actually the best thing that I could do for my marriage this year is putting Jesus first in my life. The best thing I could do for my 3 little boys and become a better father is to put Jesus first in my life. Actually, the best thing I could do for this church, which I have the privilege of leading, is putting Jesus first in my life and prioritizing him above everything else. It's the best thing that you could do for your life And this year is to put Jesus first. But really put him first. That he would be the non-negotiable. Put him first and watch what he does. And so be encouraged this year. Do not worry about what this year holds, but seek first his kingdom and his righteousness. And all these things will be given to you as well. Amen. Amen. Let's stand.